In this video, we're going to look at how to log into the MAP NWEA measures of academic progress testing system. So you're going to want to start at the CFP portal, which is cfbportal.org, and then find MAP down here and click on it. Your login for this site is not the same as your CFP credentials for many of the other sites that you've learned about in this course. You will need to retrieve your login from your MAP testing coordinator or administrator on your campus. That may be an administrator, like a vice principal or principal. It may be a technology teacher, or it may be a technology instructional facilitator on your campus. So that person will have your initial login information. Your username is actually going to be your email address. But your first password is going to be a long string of, numerical and alphabetical characters. And so it may not be something that's easy for you to remember. When you log in, you are given the opportunity to change that. So once you have your login situation figured out, you're going to log in with that information. And you'll be brought to the MAP NWEA home screen. Okay, as you see over here on the left-hand side, you've got three different options, three main menu options. One is manage students. You won't need to spend a lot of time here. This is something that your MAP administrator will take care of for you. But in a pinch, if you end up with a student in your class who doesn't show up on your roster and nobody's available to help you, you can come into this system and explore and see if you can find a way to add them to your roster for testing. That's what Manage Students is for. You look up a student's ID number and then you assign them to a teacher's class. But like I said, that's not something you're going to use frequently or hopefully at all, because hopefully all your kids will be added to your session by your administrators. The Manage Testing Sessions is going to be very important for you. This is where you will set up your testing sessions each time your students test. Depending on your campus, you may be doing it 2 times a year or 3 times a year, or maybe not at all if you teach a lower or much higher grade level. So in this Manage Testing Session menu or screen, you're going to be able to access Save Testing Sessions. So you can see I've got 2 going on here for May. And that's where you will go to start your test. Now, there will be additional information and training on this screen that I will show you at the end of this video that you will have to go in and log into MAP to access. There are several trainings provided by NWEA that are just really excellent, and they go over all the details. So rather than creating a video, I'm directing you to these interactive resources that they've provided for you. Okay, this video is just an overview of the sections and how to get logged in. But that will be where you find out how to create a testing session, how to manage the testing session when the kids are actually in the computer lab, and then how to access your reports as well. So the third option on your left-hand menu over here is viewing reports. We toggled it there. You've got 3 choices here. MAP reports will bring you to the list of report options. You've got lots of different types of reports you can run based on your students' MAP data. And the MAP data is fantastic, especially for special education students and teachers. It's very thorough. Our math, reading, and science teachers will have students test at least twice a year, usually once in September. Sometimes schools will do it in December, January, and then again in May. And that data, when you collect it over a period of a year or even multiple years, will show progress in a way that classroom benchmarks or standardized test scores may not be able to show. It's a much less stressful testing environment that the students are participating in. So a lot of times the data is more accurate than what you would get in a high stakes, like STAR testing environment for those kids that have some testing anxiety or if they make a mistake within the MAP system, you do have the option to restart the test. So it's going to give you some really great information and insight into where that student's strengths and weaknesses are. And it's just so valuable when you're having parent conferences, if you go to an ARD meeting, or just for putting students into groups, based on which subject areas and which specific objectives they are really lacking in, and they need some additional instruction in those areas. So the reports are super helpful, and there will be, like I said, an interactive training provided through NWEA that is very thorough and will show you how to access those reports and give you the opportunity to actually run the reports and through their practice system so you can see what they look like. The reports queue is where you'll go once you've specified the type of report you want. It will show up over here as either in progress or completed, and once it's completed, you can click on it, and it will give you a PDF file that you can save or print, depending on your needs. Now down here, instructional resources, this is more theory-based. So an overview of the theory behind the MAP test and how it's adaptive, meaning that students will start by taking the test at maybe a higher level, and then as they get questions right, it will become more difficult, and then as they get questions wrong, it will decrease in difficulty and complexity. And what that does is it really helps teachers to figure out what the student is ready to learn comfortably in the classroom. There are tons of documents which are provided. Some of them are provided through this course, the most useful ones. They're called, let me check. RIT charts, RIT charts. And what that does is it shows you if the student gets a score of 220, where does that mean they're ready to be learning stuff in your classroom? And it'll tell you in math, it'll tell you in science, it'll tell you in reading. That number, which otherwise would seem pretty arbitrary, what does it mean and how does it help me make choices about my instruction as a teacher? So those documents are useful. Those documents are not located here. They're going to be within your course documents in Moodle. But this is just explaining the system that they used and why they chose to set things up the way they did. So feel free to explore this area, but if you are looking for step-by-step instructions, this is not going to be where those resources are located. So we're going to go back to home. So up here, you've got a menu. This is where you would change your password if you wanted to. We mentioned that at the beginning, that you'll get a crazy password. You can make something that's easier to remember by going to change password. Okay, so click on home, and you'll be brought to the main page here. Now, at the very top, MAP Essentials Online Training, that's where you need to go to get your training on how to manage test sessions and how to access reports. So you're going to click on Short Tutorials to get you started. It's a link. Now, in a new window, you'll be brought to the online training menu. Okay? I would highly recommend that you go through the MAP introduction training. It's really quick. It's only 5 minutes. And it explains a lot of what I've explained, but probably in greater detail than I've explained it just now, on MAP and what it is and what it's used for. You don't really need to look at the system management trainings. You can if you want to, but it's not something that, unless you're an administrator, you're really going to have to deal with. Okay, but you do want to access the testing menu and the using test results menu. Okay, so I'm going to circle these for you. Within the testing menu, you're going to want to go to the Proctor Quick Start option, which is 9 minutes. It includes an interactive opportunity to practice manipulating student testing and getting them started with actual practice fake students. And you'll also see the student side of things. When they get in the computer lab, what's the student going to have to do? So that's really excellent. It's not the most exciting tutorial, but it does provide you with some great information and very clear information as far as instructions. The other one you're going to want to do is the Proctor Tools. This is going to show you how to set up a testing session and then how to interrupt testing. If you are testing over a 2-day period or over a lunch period, In order to save students' results, you're going to need to know how to interrupt their test, and then how to restart the test when you've returned either the next day or the next period or after lunch. So that's the testing training that I advise that you look at before you go into your map testing session with your students. Now, testing in web-based map, this is because recently they changed from a client-side version of the test to a web-based version of the test. You don't need to view this because you don't need to know the differences. You never used the previous system. You don't need to know how it's different from the new system. You just need to understand how to access the new system. If you're feeling, academic, you're more than welcome to go in and look at it, but it's not going to help you with actually administering the test to your students. Okay. So let's go over here then to using test results. The ones that you should probably take a look at in this section are the benefits of map reports for teachers. And then again, if you'd like to go into the web-based map, what's different, it's just a comparison of how reports used to look in the non-web-based version versus now the web-based version that you're currently using. So feel free to use that if you'd like to, but you don't have to. Really, this really quick 3-minute introduction to the reports is where you'll want to spend your time. Okay, so that is the map system in almost its entirety. Hopefully this tutorial helped you to figure out where you need to go from here. So remember that, I'm going to close this window. Those trainings are located on your home page under Map Essentials Online Training. You're going to click the link right under here. When you are done using the map interface, you do want to make sure that you log out because your students' confidential information is located within this system. So you want to make sure that it's secure by logging out. And I don't have any unsaved activities, but it does give you a little warning in case there's a test session in progress right now. You do want to make sure you take care of that before you log out of the system. But yes, okay. All right, so that is how to log into the map system and how to access your map training that you will need to complete for this course and before you administer the test to your students during the year.